Looks like we just have one. Oh, no, everyone's audio is connected now, I think. So if everyone can hear us, just let us know.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Okay. I think we'll go ahead and it's 1 minute past. We'll wait just another minute to see if anyone else joins us so that MK doesn't have to restart his conversation, and then we'll go from there. Yep, we just have another person who just showed up.
Nice. So let's wait for another minute. Maybe we have late joiners. Otherwise, we will start at 8:04.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, we have 6 people. Let's wait a little bit more before starting. I have another one, I think 7.
Yeah, you have 7 now.
Nice. Hopefully in the future we have all of them from all time zones. Then we will cap at 4 a.m.
Yeah, difficult.
Yeah, time difference make it difficult for us. Hi everyone.
Yeah. We have, I think, 15 or 20 time zones. It would be surprising if everybody shows up. So it's 8:04. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Module 2. So in Module 1, I covered a lot of details about how we will proceed with this office hours. If you want to check them, go back to Module 1 and you will find the recorded video. Now, for the rest of the modules, starting from today, we will just deep dive into the details. So I'm really happy that we have more audience this week. Hopefully in the future, we have even more. But no worries, you can let your teammates that can always watch the recorded sessions. But of course, when it's recorded, you cannot ask a live question and you cannot go on chats with me one-on-one or with other learners. So it's really beneficial if you show up, but I truly understand if you can't. We are all professionals, we are working extra hours and studying, so I'm studying like you. And of course, we are from different time zones. So we understand all of that. Still, it's a big plus if you show up. We can always discuss things a little bit off the course content if you want to. Of course, it needs to be related to AI and leadership, but not very direct to the course. We can go sidetracks, talk about what big companies are doing, maybe what are you doing, because I'm very curious about the challenges you are tackling every day. Now, let's recap for Module 1. So Module 1 is an introductory module. You have a lot of definitions and introductions about artificial intelligence and leadership. And starting from this module, we will deep dive until Module 6. So now things will start to become a little bit more interesting. I don't want to use the word serious because people find it stressful. I myself find it stressful when they would say, oh, now it's going to be serious. No, it's going to be a fun experience, fun learning experience. So Module 2 will be architecturing a nimble organization. How you're going to build a nimble organization. This is heavily based on Professor Deborah and Koenig book about the X teams, and most of the course when it comes to leadership is about the X teams concept. So please try to read the content, which I'm sure you are doing, and try to grasp as much as you can, because the concept of X teams will stay with you until the end of the course. Now, I understand if you have read other books or went to other programs, you will find some similarities, and you will find maybe different visions, how other writers and professors and researchers are seeing the topic of leadership. And that's because it's mostly social science. It's not like hard science. We have a definition for 1 + 1 = 2. Leadership can be seen in different ways. I'm going to give an example about Elon Musk. For me, he's a very charismatic person. I would say he's a very charismatic geek. If you see other scientists, because he has done a lot of science, he's the chief engineer for SpaceX. He's trying to go to Mars and not running SpaceX as a businessman. He's running it also as an engineer, a top tier engineer. He's done that with many companies. And for me, when I listen to him speaking and see his actions, he's very charismatic and he's very appealing. And every time in this course, I will take some time and praise Elon Musk for free. So I have many other colleagues and many other peers and people who are high in leadership position. They will be like, no, that guy he's not charismatic. His leadership style is awkward to us. Yeah, that's their opinion. In this course, we will not try to cover every single detail. Everybody is entitled to their own vision. But for me as a learner, when I take a course, it's not 100% I agree with the content, but I try to get the most out of it. So when here we are dealing about the nimble organizations and how leadership works and internal and external stakeholders, I understand that many professors will have different opinions about the same subject. And that's the fun thing about academia. You need to keep flexible mind. And in any industry, you need to keep an even more open mind about things. So if you want to challenge the content, please do so and let me know, and let's have that discussion. I would love to have that discussion with you. Now, I will see how many audience we have. So 6, 10. So we have 10. Nice. Hopefully next time 20. Like I said, in this week, it's more about the leadership aspect than the artificial intelligence aspect. But I have noticed that many of you are high up the hierarchy of your own organizations. You already know many concepts. And I am assuming most of you are looking for the artificial intelligence aspects. You will deep dive in those aspects in the next modules. But we are trying. So the office hours is mainly about the weekly capstone deliverables. And through the weekly capstone deliverables, we are trying to build a roadmap for you as teams or individual learners to tackle a specific AI leadership challenge. So the ultimate goal is by Module 6 in the capstone project to deliver a roadmap, a blueprint to what you need to do concerning the challenge you are having. In the previous model, you have identified between 3 to 5 legitimate AI leadership challenges. Now you're going to pick only one. And the one that is most relevant to artificial intelligence and leadership aspects. That you can go in depth in the AI components and the leadership aspects. Do not pick a subject that after 1 or 2 modules, you have nothing to talk about. And please try to pick up crazy ideas. Now, it's not really wise for me to say that, but I've been doing this for a while, and I would love to see crazy ideas. This is an academical program. Nothing will go wrong. If you are in the industry, yeah, you can lose a lot of money and your reputation. But in here, you have the freedom. You are in a safe space to explore crazy ideas. So let's go to the weekly capstone project deliverable this week. I'm going to read and try to explain to you how we as learning facilitators are seeing things and what are we expecting from you. So in every weekly capstone deliverable, you will have an example. So the example we are having now is collaborative projects resulting in delays and inefficiencies. Well, I do not really agree with that because it's too abstract. And it's for you to deep dive when you give the one-liner of your challenge. But for me, if I'm going to pick up subject, I'm going to pick up subject that you can go really concrete into it. So in the kickoff session, I talked a little bit about the role of AI leaders in the Russian-Ukrainian war, in analyzing the Chinese economy. Today, I want to talk about the US politics. I know it's a sensitive subject, but we will not deep dive into the controversial aspects. We will tackle it from AI and leadership perspective. And this is just an example of, I'll not say crazy idea because a lot of people are already working on this. It's not crazy, but it's exciting and it can keep you going for the rest of the program. Also, if we go above 30 minutes, thank you, Kathy, for making me the host.
You're welcome. I'm going to log off, but let me know in Slack if you need me for any reason.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you.
So I will try to cover these bit sensitive subjects every week because you guys are already higher up the hierarchy in your own organization, and these ideas are a bit interesting. So I will read the assignment and then I will give you an example, and it's not for you to follow, but it's for you to come up with something challenging and exciting. So the assignment goes like this: list the stakeholders involved in the challenge, and it's 50 words or fewer. And when we say it's 50 words or fewer, or 300 words or fewer, you can write plus minus 10% of those words. So if it's 100 words, you can write 10 minus words, so 90 words, or 110 words. If you go below that, we are obligated to give you a penalty, but it's something insignificant. But if you go really below that, you will have a bad grade for that question, and we grade question by question. Also, if you go really above that, which I love, but we need to give equal opportunities to everyone. So if you express, so if we say you have 100 words, but you express your thoughts in 300 words, now you have more opportunity for us to understand your deep thoughts. And it's not an equal opportunities for the rest of the learners because they were only limited by 100 words. And usually when we say 100 words, it's because we are sure that in 100 words you can cover the subject. There is no need to do 150. And one of the learners have asked about that, and it's usually learners ask about that. So for the first question, the rest of it will be, in other words, what does the challenge impact both inside the organization and out? And why it's phrased like that? Because you need in here to understand is the concept of X teams, external and internal stakeholders. So many managers in organizations, they will be like looking at their own team like this. This is my team. This is what I need to do. And they forget that there is other departments and external factors they need to take care of. So if the best example for this is the supply chain logistics for any company in the world, you are dealing with international companies and international shipment containers, flights all over the world to make that happen. You cannot only focus on your task and you'll be like, why am I having this issue? It's because you need to be sensitive about the external stakeholders that are with you, not directly under your leadership, but they affect the outcome of your own department or organization. Of course, I'm sure you understand that, but these kind of examples are expected from you. So what I love to see in all of your assignments, in all of the answers for the questions is these kind of examples. You'll be like, this is my use case. I'm gonna talk about the political consultancy company in the US advising the GOP and the Dems. And, oh, I forgot. I need to give something universal for everybody to understand. So the US have two major political parties. It's the Republicans and the Democrats. Big consultancy companies are consulting both sides of the aisle. And this is the example that I will go through. So the concept of X teams in here, you will be managing your own staff inside the consultancy, but you are also have external stakeholders that are from different political parties. Then I will give you the example of Cambridge Analytica. It's an infamous consultancy company that have done that, and we will see where they have messed up. After that, for the example aspects too. So you can give this challenge that you want to solve, but give me the example about that challenge. You have a consultancy company in the political field, and what will be the example for this question for me to understand as a learner? Because I'm sure when you guys put your brains together, you understand each other. But for me, I'm not with you in those sessions. And because I'm not with you, I cannot say, oh, they have meant this and they have meant that. And sometimes I understand that you have meant something different, but I need to play the devil's advocate of not understanding, because an assignment needs to be clear. So the rest of the question would be: successful implementation of transformation plan requires a careful understanding of the stakeholders involved, making them allies and incorporating their insights and input. We already covered that. We now jump into the more challenging question. And notice I really shy away from terms hard, serious, and whatsoever, because it's not. We always try to keep it simple. Now we're going to say is determine the breadth of the challenge. We have 400 words to answer this question, is because the main question for this week. What are the consequences throughout the organization and beyond? So for the example of Cambridge Analytica, what they do is they try to, they advise Donald Trump, and they used Facebook data. Now, the scandal is the access of US citizens' personal data. The investigation says that Mark Zuckerberg was involved in that. And Mark Zuckerberg is an AI leader. They innovated a lot in the field of AI for the past 10 years. And it's their ethical obligation to protect that data and not to be used by an authorized third party. So Cambridge Analytica is really great consultancy political company. One of the founders is Steve Bannon. He's a Republican. So you already have a biased consultancy firm. As an AI leader, how to sustain this organization? For me, I don't see that happening, because you can only consult one side of the aisle, so you're already biased. And the breadth of the challenge is these things we are talking about. You cannot survive only by serving one part, unless you have some smart measures for you to keep going with only one narrative. So we cannot see data analysts analyzing the Democrats' data to try to elect their government officials, reaching out to Cambridge Analytica. You are losing money. Of course, we have companies that are dedicated to one target and one objective and one audience and one niche, and it's still completely legitimate business. But the day that fires back, you do not have a backup as a leader in your organization. So these are the conversation I'm making now. It's you can do it through your assignments. Give me concrete examples. Of course, the course needs to be neutral, but for us as individuals, nobody is neutral in their life. And if you are a leader, you need to shy away from that, and you have your own signature. And you give those concrete examples. So at the end of the question, I say, if possible, cite examples for your group's experience and research sources. What we encourage students to do and learners to do is, if you write something, if you give an example, give us the source of it. Because if you don't give us the source of it, well, we can argue against that. Hey, from where did you bring the information? It's not clear to me. And also for plagiarism purposes, some people will just bring 1 or 2 paragraphs from a source and they do not cite it. We can happen to learn that source, and then we can penalize you for that. So these are sensitive subjects. So please, for every question, try to cite your sources. Not only for this module, but for the rest of the modules. Now, the last question is, discuss how you will measure and continuously monitor the effect of change on stakeholders and recalibrate the system when solutions are implemented. In industry, this is one of the difficult things to do, but hopefully here we are not running an actual business. So for example, if you are working in the supply chain logistics, like I do with Nike, we have European distribution, African distribution, Middle Eastern distribution. And when we sell something, it's visualized on the dashboard. So now so I'm from Tunisia, it's in North Africa. If the sales are being executed in my country, you need to be able to see the inventory. Now we need to increase that, the number of sales. So the smart thing from Nike is to approach a local influencer or influencers to wear the Nike shoes, for example. They will be sold more. So we can track down that. And we can forecast that using AI models. So in the dashboards, in the backend, the AI will run and process the data. And in the dashboard, we'll see how much sales have increased for this week or this month because of the marketing team have opted to local influencers. This is exactly what's being done in many industries, including the consultancy political companies. They will go to, for example, Ohio, which is a swing state, and if I say something wrong, please correct me. And they will try to push some agenda so they can win in that state. These are the kind of concrete examples we are looking to see. And it says discuss. Do not give us bullet points. We needed to feel the discussion that you guys are having in the team among yourselves. Now, the rest of the last question is, in other words, how will you know if a plan is working? It's usually by setting up KPIs, which is indicator performances. So we know it worked for Donald Trump after the support from Cambridge Analytica. We know in my current job with Nike, I know that we are having more sales. It's because on the dashboard, it says we have sold more this week. And in the forecasted sales, when we use AI to track down the inventory, we know that we have sold more. And when we track down what's going to happen in the future, we will manufacture more. Now, feel free to use IDEA to work until the rest of this program from your own work, but be careful about sensitive matters. If you don't want to do that, you can always use a fictional use case, but please give us the details. And by this, we have covered the capstone project and the main things that happened the previous week and what's going to happen this week. And now the floor is yours. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your questions. Admit. And since I'm using my phone, if you send a message, it will be a bit inconvenient to me to read it in the chat. Yeah. So please unmute yourselves and ask any questions that you want. And I will be here until 8:30. But if we go above 8:30, that's no problem. Don't be shy, guys.
So again, this is probably just me, right? You've said quite a bit in these first 20 odd minutes, right? And I'm trying to piece these things together in the context of module 2, right? And again, extending from module 1, yeah, we identified a bunch of topics, like everyone recommended a bunch of them, and of course we want to shortlist some of those. And from that shortlist, we had our capstone group leaders publish this to view, right? And assuming that these are the ones that we're going to be working on, right, for the rest of the sessions, right? So from module 2 perspective, breaking this down, like what are the explicit needs versus like what is beyond the scope of module 2, because you've covered quite a bit over here, and I'm thinking that some of these are beyond the scope of module 2, so just a little bit of clarification there would be helpful.
Okay, so if I understand your question correctly, you are looking for specifically what is expected from you in the capstone project in module 2, right?
Yep.
Okay, so first question, you will list the internal and external stakeholders involved in your idea. So in module 1, you have cited 3 to 5 ideas. In module 2, the first step is choose one of those ideas. First question is list the internal and external stakeholders to your idea, anybody involved and how they are involved. So sometimes you will be, okay, a manager of what in your idea. Second question is, and this is like exactly and briefly the assignment. Second question is determine the breadth of the challenge. So the challenge you are solving, it's touching what exactly? If it's in supply chain logistics, in what field you are operating? Are you in retail? Are you in e-commerce? Are you in both? What kind of product are you selling? And what are the consequences in your organization of doing what you are doing? So if you are in sport industry, it's not like you are in retail. Be specific to your own challenge. Third question and last question is how to continuously measure the change on stakeholders. And based on that, how will that affect your organization? So hopefully now I'm precise and concise, and hopefully you get the clarification. Otherwise, I'll be happy to explain it furthermore.
So again, on this vein, right, and on problem selection, right, some of us, we did think a little bit, expansive, right? So this is not restricted to an organization. It is probably, something that impacts, national level, policies and things like that, and even, having a global impact on things, right? So in that case, right, do these questions that you just mentioned, do they translate 1:1, right? And in certain places where they don't, what are we trying to answer instead? Like example would be and for our group, one of the things that we picked up was how do we enable or use AI to leverage to make sure that water is there as a usable and consumable resource for every human being, right? So the scope of this is pretty vast, and as we are looking through that from a stakeholder perspective, yeah, it's it could be either as trivial as everyone is a stakeholder, or it could be as complex as who has powers to enact changes to be those stakeholders, right? So, and those kind of macro events that are going beyond the scope of an organization, right? What questions are we trying to answer, and do these questions that you mentioned still, do they hold value, or do we have to pivot a little bit on seeing how they reflect on these kind of use case statements?
You can, if I understood correctly, you can pivot a little bit based on your idea. So these questions need to be answered like they are for any challenge, but we allow pivoting a little bit outside of the scope to accommodate the challenge that you have done. But please be careful, it's 6 weeks module, you have 6 submissions. If you pivot a little bit outside in the second module, you may risk that in the future models that you will be a little bit out of the scope of the capstone project. But from what I understood from the challenge you are saying is, are we a bit flexible about how we see the ideas that you want to challenge? And yes, we are. But please always keep in mind that small change at the beginning, deviating a little bit from these questions to accommodate the idea that you are having, can result in you being out of the scope by module 5 or module 6.
Yeah. And so in taking that and playing the devil's advocate here, right? So given that, some of these topics are lending themselves to be pivoting, right? Is this also the right time where we can, say, find some time with, one of you and see if we need to realign on a more concise, guardrailed problem statement? Or, is the submission that we did in module 1, does it lock it in for good?
Module 1 is not graded. It's mainly for you to brainstorm 3 to 5 ideas. Module 2 is to choose one of those ideas. And this is why I was talking about, we can accommodate the challenge that you want to solve and we respect your choices. But please, in this module, be careful about what you choose.
Got it.
Do you have any other questions or clarifications we need to cover? I think no, she's good. So who else have a question or want some help or want to start some side chat? Oh, okay, Richard, I'm in the chat now. You can write your question. Oh, it's okay. So Richard said he can't access the meeting metrics. Just type in your question. That's it.
I think that was his question. Like, he wasn't able to access the meeting metrics either, which is something a bunch of us are also, facing.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was the actual question. Okay. Yeah, like you have said in the chat, there is a thread, and I think that was solved by the success team. But yeah, I thought, okay. But thank you for replying to him. Yeah, thank you for replying to him immediately. You helped me today. Thank you.
So another question that I had, because this is a bigger group, right? And we are seeing things like, for the first assignment, we have these riff chat where everyone had to type out what they feel about a certain scenario of an enterprise adopting some kind of change and transparency, and everyone had their own thoughts and opinions on it, right? So given that module 1 is done, can we expect some form of consolidation, or what is the outcome? So we've you asked question, we've answered it, but now is there like an aggregate outcome that we are looking at as the ideal things to do? What is the learning from this?
I think you did not join from the beginning, but that's still not a problem. The aggregate of all of this by the module 2, the idea that you have chosen, every weekly capstone deliverables, you need to have a submission toward the idea. By module 6, what we're going to do is aggregate all of those submissions into one submission. So when you reach module 6, you will find the questions that by answering them is going to be the blueprint for the whole course. So the submissions are not independent. Every week will depend from the previous week. What I usually do before I grade a current week, I go back to the previous one. So I remember and remember what happened. I understand your thinking process toward this week. And by module 6, and this is why I said you can choose something from your own professional work, because after 6 weeks, you can actually apply that. You have the whole roadmap. If you have a fictional idea and you put effort 6 weeks into it, by the end, you can actually apply the real life. So this is the purpose and the ultimate goal. Hopefully, I have answered your question.
Slightly, yes, but let me ping you on the side with some more details, and I don't want to hijack, this session for all of the detailed stuff that I had.
Yeah, so thank you for that. You can send me a direct message. I will go to the chat, see the other questions. So, it's okay, Haitham, no problem. It's okay, Catherine. Thank you for being with us tonight. And
hello,
guys, since we run
can you
out
hear
of
me?
time, I will accept one last question from you.
Hello, this is Rich. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello.
I figured out how to unmute, so thank you for your patience.
Nice.
I had a pretty general question on the module 1, where we were evaluating what was going to be our capstone project. We had to evaluate based on the 3 factors of business impact, strategic alignment, and I forget the innovation or something like that.
Yeah.
And impact, innovativeness, and strategic alignment. And it makes sense to me within my own company because I'm aware of the business strategy and goals. But in a generic sense, how does one evaluate those factors?
It depends on the challenge. If you ask me how to evaluate those changes, for example, like the Nike example that we are actually tackling at work. For example, you can go to a local influencer in a specific country. I will pick my country, Tunis, and we will start. Of course, this is outside the scope of my work. I'm an AI and data engineer, but the marketing team, what they will do, for example, to increase the sales in a specific country, they will, for example, I'm saying, for example, because I cannot say what they are actually doing, and they will give the product to a local influencer, and the next day, they will track down the KPIs. What changed? The change in here in the retail industry is how many of that product have been sold after the advertisement. How many inventory is left? How much is the forecasted revenues? How much is the forecasted products are going to be sold? Also, I have given the question of political consultancy companies like Cambridge Analytica. If you are endorsing a specific presidential figure, you will see how many people are voting for that specific individual. You will see how many Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok posts have interacted with what you have done. So, for example, let's say one of the parties have a scandal and you advertise that scandal. And then you will see how many people interact with that. That's the actual change that you are doing. So some media agencies that are specialized in social networks, they will say, okay, if you give me $100,000, I will increase your daily video views by 200,000 views per day and 500,000 clicks per week. That's how you set up KPIs, and setting up KPIs is how to track down the change that your policy as a leader have implemented. Hopefully this gives, so these are 3 different examples. Hopefully one of them is clear enough for you.
Yes, it's helpful going forward now. It was just a bit difficult when we were evaluating multiple ones. You know, each member of our group submitted a few suggestions, and without, you know, going into the overall strategies and goals of each, whether it was an imaginary company or a real company, of each of the scenarios, it was difficult to give proper weight, if you know what I mean. But going forward, that is helpful because we did come up with one, and now that we have one scenario, it's easier to evaluate on those guidelines. So thanks.
Exactly. So thank you for your question. It was a great one. And by this, we will conclude. Yeah, sure. I've seen your message. And yeah, we can always have, you can always direct message me or message me in your group so everybody can see the conversation and give their opinions. Also, you can do that in the module 1, 2 groups, so everybody can jump in and give their opinion. And thank you so much for being with us tonight. Goodbye.